There we go. I will say that my system might look a bit different to yours. So I'm using the full version of Autocad, and it's the Map 3D version. Most of the tools, I'm hoping all the tools that we'll use today are relevant for everyone. But I think I asked everyone to download Autocad Lite, Autocad LT, because it's the cheapest option, and to be honest, it's got most of the functionality that you'll need. There are a few extra advanced functionalities which if we've got time, we'll touch on today, and that's the reason why I use the full version. But Theo, you mostly use the Lite version, don't you?
Yeah, I still draft in LT. It's just some of the more complex data extraction stuff that I do in full CAD. But there's really pretty, I'd say 90% of what you need to do, maybe even 95, you can still achieve in AutoCAD LT, and it is a lot cheaper, isn't it?
It is. I can't remember what the prices are, but yeah, it's a lot cheaper. And is my sound on again? Because I keep going a bit funny.
I've got you.
All right, fine, good. Well, should we get started and stop gibbering?
Yeah.
Right then. So hopefully this is what you've seen when you've started up AutoCAD. I'm hoping everyone's got AutoCAD opened up, and approximately this is what you'll see. Is this the same as what you'd see, Theo, on the LT version? It's been a while since I've used it.
Yeah, pretty much exactly, yeah.
Cool. So what might happen when you first open it up is actually it opens up a blank drawing. I just wanted to hide that a moment and show you what the original one is you've kind of got this start page here, which has a few little things on, which, to be honest, I barely touched. You can see I've got 2 notifications for product updates. I don't know what they are. And you can also here, again, you can connect to, I think it's called Autodesk 360, is it, Theo? Is that right?
Yeah.
And then that gives the functionality of being able to post online and use the web versions and things like that. So what I'm going to do there is open up a new drawing to start things off, and then I'll show you the ribbon, which is the top the top bits where all the tools are and stuff like that. But we'll get started. So there are always in AutoCAD a few ways to do things, usually 3 or 4 ways to do the same thing, which is quite handy because it means it lends itself to how you like to work best. And I'll explain that a bit more as we go on. So when you want to open up a new drawing, there are a few ways to do that. You've got a plus symbol here. And if you hover over that, it says new drawing. And if you click on that, it will just open up a new drawing. If you go up to the top left here and click on that, it comes up with a little drop down. And then you can click on new here as well. Now the difference is that if I just click on here, it's just going to open up a new drawing. And I believe, Theo, it just chooses the last template that you use, does it? Or does it choose any template at all? The drawing template.
I mean, it's a long time since I've opened a fresh drawing, so I usually just open a template. It's probably been quite a number of years since I've opened like a fresh drawing.
Well, let me look. If I click on this, and it just opens up a blank drawing, and there's just literally nothing. Now, when you open it up, I'll come on to this, but when you open up, the screen will probably be black, because the standard setup for AutoCAD is a black screen. So it kind of inverts the colors, or it inverts the background, and it inverts white. Any lines or anything you draw in black actually comes out on the screen white. I'll come on to the reason why I have it white in a minute. So if I just close that down a second, and then if I go up to here, top left, you see my mouse, click on that, and then come down here and click on new. And then this is a little bit different. This actually brings up a template folder. And so from this template folder, I've got a lot of ones which you won't see, like Mapbook and things. Don't worry about those, because you probably won't see that. But there's other ones here, ACAD, ISO, and other elements. Now, I haven't explored this too much, Theo. I'm guessing you haven't either. But one thing that we do at Event Site Design is set up our own template We'll go into this in a minute, and I'll show you what the different settings are and how you can save that. But the great thing is you can set up a template to have it all set up and ready to go with all the layers you want, and some features like layouts and things that you'll use time and time again. So you can set that up as a template. Whether we'll talk about setting up a template today or not, I don't know. But I'm just going to choose this one, ACAD, just as a first one, then click open. So I'm hoping everyone's got just ACAD as a template. And then this opens up this.
It'll either be ACAD or ACAD LT.
Of course it will, yeah. So any of those is fine, because we're going to change the settings within it anyway. So that's it should look something like this, only yours will be a black background. And you'll see on mine, actually, it's created a grid on it. And you can turn that grid off down the bottom right-hand side. Is that different, Theo, on LT?
No, that is the same on LT. Yeah. There's a ribbon in the bottom right.
Yeah, can you see where I've got my my mouse has hovered over and it says grid mode? And you can see also there's, again, like I say, there's always a couple of ways to do things. I can click on this and that will turn that grid off. But also I can press F7 and that will turn it off as well. There's always a good shortcut, and we'll come on to that in a minute. So before we change the setup of the page anymore, let's just show you around AutoCAD a little bit. So starting at the bottom, you've got a little ribbon all the way along the bottom. Oh, let's close that a little bit. So it's closed task pane because you won't see that. That's a map version only. You've got like a ribbon down here of with various different functionalities. I won't go into those for now.
Just interjectory, but on my screen, I can't actually see your bottom ribbon because of there's like a zoom tab that comes into the screen. So if you just reduce the window of CAD, that bottom one up a bit, I'm hoping that I should be able to see it. I'm not sure if anyone else is having that problem.
That's annoying, isn't it? Can anyone else see it? Because actually I don't know if I can, because it's the way it's attached.
Okay, well maybe it's just me.
I can see the middle drop down on the share screen. I can see recent documents, but the list below is black. No, I can see the ribbon. Okay. So some I can see, but full screen. Some can see it, some can't. Oh, look, someone's giving you advice. If you hold cursor still, the zoom button tab goes away. Hopefully it'll show in the record as well. I can't work out how to be able to show that to you, but maybe you could do a screenshot there and pop it in or something. I don't know.
Oh, it's not too important. So zoom ratio.
Okay.
So in the zoom, if you like view options, zoom ratio, if you put it to 100%, it definitely comes up.
Fine. Perfect. There we go. Thanks. That's why you're here.
Winging it.
Great. So I won't go too much into those bits for now. But then just above that, hopefully you've got what we call the command bar. And this is pretty critical to how we do things in AutoCAD. Again, there are many with different ways of doing using different tools and different functionality, but pretty much everything can be done through the command bar by using a command that you just type in. So if I here was just to click into here, you don't actually have to, you can have it anywhere. And you just, if you were to use your keyboard and just type in options and then hit enter, and that brings up the options window. Oh, you know what? I just remembered. I know some people are on Mac as well, and they've downloaded the Mac version. Mac is a bit different. Now, actually, I use a Mac, but I run Windows on it to run the Windows version because of some of the extra functionality we use is only available on the Windows version. I don't know why. So I do know the Mac version does look a bit different and operates a little bit differently. So Theo, maybe just if anyone picks that up and says, I can't work it out, we'll probably be able to tell them another way to do it.
Okay.
So in here, this is the options window. So here we've got all various different options of how we can change the look, the feel, and the functionality, and all the bits within within AutoCAD. And in here also, we should, if I remember where it is, should know. Colors, there we go. So if I click on the drafting tab, and then I think I want to go to colors, don't I? If I click on this button here, colors, there we go. And that brings up another drawing window, colors. And
yeah,
then,
Rupert, I'll just interject.
yeah.
I've got a few comments coming through that people can't actually see the window.
Right, okay, let me change something a minute. I've got an idea. I know why that is. Right, can you see my screen again?
Yeah.
Right, let me try this. So if I go into hit options, can you all see it now?
Yes, I can see it. So I'm assuming everyone else can. Yep.
Fab. Okay, sorry about that. That's just a different way of sharing it. It's good to know though. Right, so I'm going to go at the top, I'm going to go to the drafting tab, and then I'm going to go down to where it's in this section here, it says colors, and I'm going to click on colors. And then in here, I can change all the colors. You can literally change the colors of anything. So you can see that that obviously at the moment, my background is white and yours is probably black. And you can change that here where it says uniform background. If I click on that, and the color here is shown as white rather than black. Now, the reason I use white rather than black is, one, I don't do this day in, day out. And the reason black was formed is because it's obviously easier on the eyes. I think, Theo, you use it more, don't you?
I used so when I was working in architecture, I use black religiously, but I guess because in the events, the plans that we do, they're a bit more colourful, so the white screen gives a more realistic vision on the screen of what it's actually going to look like when it's printed out.
Exactamundo. You just stole my thunder.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's perfect. That's exactly it. That's why I do it, is because then I know when I use certain colours on the screen, I know what it's going to look like pretty much when I print it out. It's especially useful. I think a lot of sort of old school drafts people would use the cyan colour and the yellow colour because it comes out really strong with a black background. When you print that, you can barely see it if it doesn't have any surrounds. So that's why I just changed this to white. So you should be able to click on uniform background and under colour, where it should say black now, just click on white. And then you hit apply and close. And then when you're in here as well, you hit OK to make sure you're saving all those settings. And then you're here. Now, the other thing you can do in there, you'll see that this is my kind of cursor here, my crosshairs. And this is how we make selections. So if I click and then let go, I can make a selection like that. You see it's a blue box. And if I click and go the other way, in fact, it goes a green box. And I'll show you that in a minute. But you can change the crosshair size. Mine might look a little bit different to yours. The box in the middle is how you select things. So you can make that bigger or smaller. And it's really about what your preference is. But again, that is where we just were. So if I just open that options, go to options again. And if you go to this area here, so I think it's, is it here actually, or is it somewhere else? The selection tool, that's it, isn't it? So if you click on selection tab, you've got the grip size and you've got the pick size. I think it's the pick box size, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Anyway, I'm not going to change mine, but you can change it there if you want. Right, so let's have a little look at the top ribbon. At the top ribbon, you've got all of the tools. So these first bits here where it says draw, this is how you can kind of draw stuff. So if you click on this, click on line, and just click once, then you can see that my little box on my cursor's disappeared. That means that a tool has been selected. And then in fact, if I look down in the command bar just down here, you can see it says line specify first point. So if I click once, now it's specified the first point, and I can drag it along, and you can see that it's creating a line. And if I click again, that's created a line. And then I can drag along, and it will just keep on going, and I can just keep on creating lines until I want it to stop, and then I can just hit enter, and that's it. Pretty much a Harris line around a festival, isn't it?
Just are you going to cover snapping and tracking in a bit, Rupert?
Yeah, I've noticed all the snappings on. You're probably better placed for that if you want to do a little bit of that. Should we do that now, or should we do that later? Let's do that later. You'll notice though, when I was drawing that line, so I just go up again, hit line. You'll notice that there's this these other. You've got like it's called dynamic mode, isn't it? There, where all these it shows you the angle and it shows you the measurement of the length of the actual line.
It's so that's there's part of it is dynamic mode, and then part of it is polar tracking.
Polar tracking, that's the one, yeah.
Okay.
We'll probably not get too bogged down in that too much. I just want to try and get into drawing some stuff for people.
Yeah, I mean, I can if they want me to cover it later, I'm happy to do that quickly at some point. But
cool, yeah, good plan. Yeah. Great. So yeah, and the other thing is worth noting, if you have got dynamic mode switched on, the advantage of that is you can see at the moment as I'm moving it, it says 7, 8.5, and that's telling you how long a line is. And at the moment it says 9.5. Now, because you can see the text in there is highlighted, I could just type in 15 on my keyboard, hit enter, and it will do a line which is 15 units long. I hit enter, and then that line is now 15 units long. Right, I'm going to delete, so I can do that. There's a couple of different ways I can just delete these lines. If I select and then drag down to the right, so when I say select, so click my mouse button once, the left mouse button, and then if I drag down, you see it's blue. And if I drag that all the way over this line and then hit and click left button again, you can see it's selected that line. Now, if I've just pressed escape to deselect, by the way, that's nice, a little extra functionality, a shortcut you can do. If I click again and let go and then just drag down, and if I just go halfway along or anywhere along, if I don't cover the whole thing, it doesn't select it. Because when it's blue, it only selects the lines which are all the way inside the box. If I do from the opposite way, so click once and then drag off to the left, you can see it's green. And if I just hover over a little bit of this line and click again, it has selected it. And that means that it allows you to select things with the green box, that as long as the green box is touching it, it means that it will select anything that green box is touching. So blue has to be within it, and green is if it can only touch it. I'm just going to use the green. Click once, drag over to the left, click again, selected both of those, and then I can delete it. Now to delete it, I can right click and go to erase. That brings this right click brings back another window of various different tools, some of which are repeated up on the top ribbon. I can click erase. Alternately, I can use just the delete button. Oh look, it hasn't deleted that one. And so that one I can click once, drag over, click again, right click, and go to erase.
So the reason why it didn't delete that one is because that was drawn as a line, and when you draw a line continuously, it appears as though it's a continuous element, but they're actually made up of individual lines. Whereas if you draw a polyline, and you may appear as though you're drawing the same thing, but they will actually all be connected in one element. So if you just touched one section of that polyline, it would all delete.
Yeah, exactly. Cool, and we'll go on to polyline. So yeah, you've got other things here. So we'll come back to polyline in a minute because we'll use that to draw some fence lines soon. So yeah, you've got polyline, which is what Theo just exactly mentioned, which is multiple sort of lengths of lines that can all be connected together, and they can be changed as well, because you can add, you can change the curves on them, you can create arcs within the same polyline and all sorts of stuff, and it can all be one single polyline. And the other thing with polylines is you can have closed polylines, and then you can actually fill them in with color as well. You've got circle, and then you've got arcs, and then you've got some other things here. You can create a rectangle, a ellipse, thanks there, ellipse. And then you've got some hatch functionality, which is infilling colour. So you can fill a closed polyline or a closed circle or rectangle with colour. And then the other area you've got as I say, that yours might be sort of in a slightly different. Is yours exactly the same order, Theo?
Not necessarily.
No. So it might be a bit different, mightn't it?
But yeah, it might be worth if to make it easier for some people. Obviously, there's shortcut keys which you can use. So if you can't see that particular tool on your ribbon, then we'll tell you what the shortcut key is, and then you'll hopefully be able to use it.
Exactly that. So yeah, you've got move functions, you've got other sort of interesting extra functionality here. You've got your sort of ways to create text. And here, this is where you can do measurements, and you've got different options of measurements here. We'll do a few of those later. They're actually called dims. So you can do measurements, which is just measuring something, but these are creating dimensions, which means you can actually display a length of an object or a line. This here is the layer management. So AutoCAD uses layers, so and that's really useful for controlling lots of different objects that might be grouped together in some way. So for example, I use one layer for all my marquis. It means that I have complete control over that, and if I wanted to change the color of all of my marquis, then I'd only have to change the color of that layer, and it would change the color of anything that was associated to that layer, that color layer color. And you've got some other bits here. We won't come on to that just yet, I don't think. Do you, Theo?
No, I think, yeah, should we get drawing some stuff?
Let's get drawing some stuff. So I thought what we do is just sort of draw a fake festival.
Yeah. Or I could cover the polar tracking.
Yeah, go on. Do you want to do that? I think you can control my screen, or we can just switch.
Shall I? Do you want to stop sharing, and then I can share mine, and then
yeah, let's do that.
I'll give it a go.
Go on then.
Right. Okay, have you got that?
Yeah, we can see that.
Okay, so mine, yeah, my screen might look slightly different because this is the LT version that I'm using. So can you see this bottom ribbon of my screen? Yeah. Okay. So these two icons here, one of them is orthographical, which is this one, which looks like a right angle. And the other one is polar tracking, which is what looks like a circle with an angle in it. If you want to choose orthographical, if you want to draw a line or a polyline, you can either select this tool or you can press PL and enter. That if you're in orthographical, it will only allow you to draw a line at 90 degrees, which can be useful if you're doing something which is very rectilinear. Or if you want to...
Is that a word?
Rectilinear.
Love it.
I'm pretty sure that's a word.
Yeah, it's fine with me.
If not, it's official CAS terminology. There you go. But if you want to do polar tracking, you can have that set up to go at 90-degree intervals, or you can have it at 45, 30, and then on various increments down to about 5 degrees. I tend to use it in 45-degree angles, and what you'll see is when I start my line, you'll see a dashed green line which shows when it's snapping to that angle. So I know when that dashed green line comes up, that line there is being drawn at 45 degrees, and that will go right the way around. But if you wanted something slightly different, say 18 degrees, it would snap at 18-degree intervals. I'm not currently on the chat, Rupert, but is that making sense to people?
I think it is just one. Yeah, Cliff had a different question, which we'll come on to in a second.
Okay.
I think it. Yeah, let's get on with drawing some stuff, and we can always utilize that as we're drawing. to give an idea. You know, oddly enough, I've never used that functionality. So there we go.
Okay.
12 years I've done this.
I've used it for the last 10 years, but okay.
There we go. There we go. Just goes to show, doesn't it?
Do you want me to do snapping, or do you want to do that?
No, let's do snapping whilst we're drawing.
Okay, cool.
Now, Cliff just mentioned he can't see the layers section.
Do you want to?
You can actually right click on the ribbon anywhere, any blank area on the ribbon, and then it will bring up the. If you do that now, Theo, and it should bring up the options to add other panels into the ribbon.
Are we talking about here?
No, if you right click just within the ribbon itself, so you've got show panels. If you go to show panels, it will show you all the different panels, and obviously Theo there has got layers selected. You can show it there. The other option, if it's not showing there, is, and what we use quite a bit, is off to the left. You can see Theo's got a bit of sort of a list of all the layers, and I have this open all the time. And to get that open, you just type in layers and then hit enter, and that'll bring it up. Or not. Is that because you've already got it open? Have I got that wrong?
Possibly.
I don't think I did. I haven't got it open at mine. That's how
it's just layer. It's not layers with an S.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, okay.
There we go.
There, and that'll bring up a little movable box that you can move around. Shall I jump back in the share?
Yeah, I'll jump. I'll get off. There we go.
Okay, Ben's saying that on his version, it's on the side as default, which is perfect because, to be honest, that is the most useful. Right, then let me. So hopefully you can see my screen now.
Yeah, I've got you.
Cool. Just going to. Okay. So I thought, should we just quickly go through the drawing units and explain that? So AutoCAD doesn't work in a specific unit that we're used to. It doesn't. You don't draw in inches, in meters, in miles. You draw in AutoCAD units, and then whatever you. If I drew a unit of 5 in AutoCAD, I draw my plan in 5, and if I go, well, it's up to me to decide what that 5 means. Of course, I need to decide beforehand on what I'm going to draw in. Now, I always draw in meters because most of the plans that we do is all meters, and you can do decimals of meters. So I can draw like 5 meters, but if someone else was to take over that drawing, there's not, other than the units which we'll come on to in a minute, which is the insertion units, it would have to be quite clear, wouldn't it, Theo? There isn't any obvious way to show on the actual plan itself what it's drawn in. Am I right?
No.
So the reason when you work it out is when you start doing importing and using, I think someone's mentioned on the questions, which we'll come on to in a minute, like how you use existing either images or existing CAD plans. Now, most of the Ordnance Survey data that you might use, which you'll probably start your site plans with drawing, will all be in meters. And so if you just type in, everyone just type in units. So just type in units, and you can see down the bottom, it's come up with all the things that apply to the word unit, all the commands. I'm just typing in units and hit enter, and it brings up this other box. And here we can choose what the insertion scale is going to be. Now, a standard thing is before I create a new drawing from a blank drawing, I always go into here and change the precision, and I change the insertion scale to something which I'm working to, because it just means that anything I'm importing, which is also in the same unit type, it's going to match everything that I'm drawing. So in here it says insertion scale, and you can just click on this drop down, and you can choose all the different units in our world. And so I'm just going to choose meters. And now insertion scale is relevant when you start inserting other drawings, but let's not go into that for now. And then precision as well. At the moment, you can see the precision is quite high. Actually, to be honest, most of the time I only do 2 decimals because in most instances, 0.01 is the most accurate I'll ever need to be when it comes to drawing plans in sort of greenfield festival environments. And then you just hit OK. Don't worry about the rest for now. Let's draw some stuff. Let's draw some stuff. Right. The other thing to note is that when you're drawing just from blank, it's just going to put AutoCAD is it's like one massive world. So it has its own coordinate system, which you can reference to longitude and latitude at a later point. But if you're importing OS data, it's really important that you, when you do that, that you don't alter the coordinates of the existing Ordnance Survey plan, because it's georeferenced to a specific location, which, so if you're going to then use sort of GPS technology to mark out, you want to make sure you don't mess around with that. But we're not going to look at that for now. We're just going to draw some stuff. So I'm going to start off by using the rectangle function. So what I tend to do, you can go up to the top up here and click on the rectangle function. But because I'm probably a bit old school, I use the command bar a lot. So to draw a rectangle, sometimes you don't have to spell the whole word out. You can just you can often just spell the first few letters. So if I just type in REC, you can see in the command bar the very first thing that comes up is rectangle. So I hit enter, and then you can see that my little box has disappeared, which means I'm in tool mode. And if I click somewhere, you can see now that it's going to draw a rectangle. And if I was just to click again, I've now got myself a rectangle. However, I want to draw a specific sized rectangle because I want to draw our rectangle, which will be our sort of fake perimeter of the field that we're going to have our festival in it. So I'm just going to click somewhere on that line and right click and erase. And then again, I'm going to type in REC and hit enter to get into my rectangle. I'm going to click top left, and you can see if I drag it along that I can create the rectangle. Now I'm going to go into dimensions mode. So you can see down the bottom in the command bar, you've got different options: area, dimensions, rotation. I'm just going to choose dimensions for now, and you can see the first letter is highlighted in blue, which means that if I just type in D for dimensions and hit enter, it's now gone into dimension mode. So now it's asking me to specify the length of the rectangle. By the length, it means the horizontal line of that rectangle. So I want to do, I think we should go for like, should we go for like a small festival, shall we? 150 meters wide, should we do that? So I just type in 150, hit enter, and then it's saying specify width of the rectangle, and I'm going to go for, let's go for like 400 and hit enter. You can see it's out of the screen at the moment. So if I just zoom out, and by the way, guys, I'm using, oh, I can't, it's not letting me zoom out. Let me hit, I'm just going to tick, press the left button again, and you can see now that my little box has come back. There we go. It's quite an elongated festival. Now,
have you explained how you're doing your pan there instead of zooming in and zooming out?
Yeah, I was just about to say that. So what's really important, I use a mouse with a roller wheel on it. Is that what you call it? You know, yeah. Which is, to be honest, critical when you're using AutoCAD, because it allows you, with that pan mode, you can use the middle button. So if I press my middle button, you can see the little hand there. And if I'm holding the button down at the moment, and that's in pan mode, and I can drag things around, which just makes it so much easier to navigate around a plan. The other thing is, of course, you can zoom in and zoom out with the wheelie mouse, the wheelie button.
Yeah, and if you don't have a mouse, you can just press P, and that will get you to the pan tool, and you can pan that way.
Yeah, exactly. Now we've got, this is pretty good, isn't it? It's going to be a bit of a long festival site. Should we shrink it down a bit? Maybe, what did I say? It was 150 wide. So again, this is the dynamic mode, isn't it, Theo? Where I'm able to hover over a grip, which is what this blue thing is called. A corner of a rectangle or an end of a line will always have these grip buttons in blue, grips icons in blue. If I hover over it, it can, because I've got dynamic mode on, it shows me the measurements. What do you type? You just type in DYM to turn dynamic mode on.
It's DYM mode, and I.
Oh, I lost you then. I don't know if that was just me, but what do you have to do?
I type in DYN mode.
Yeah.
And then
So
that comes up with enter a new value, and I have mine set on 3.
Oh yeah, it's different values for different functionality, isn't it?
Yeah.
AutoCAD has this thing where various different commands have different levels of functionality, and it doesn't actually tell you within the program itself what that means. So DYM, you type in, go into dynamic mode, you've got 1, 2, and 3, but it doesn't tell you what that is. You've either got to play with it, or if you go onto AutoCAD forum and just do a quick search, it will tell you what it all means. I'm not going to go into that and waste everyone's time on that, but yeah, it's a funny old thing. Right, so I can now, I've got this big, quite a long festival site, so I'm probably going to shrink it down. It's 150 wide. I'll probably go for more like 300 long. Now I can do that in a couple of different ways. I could redraw it, or I could click here. If I click on this one here, you can see I've got dynamic mode on. If I click once, and you can see that one of these things has been highlighted. Has everyone got dynamic mode on? You've just gone Dyn mode 3. Yes, if everyone puts dynamic mode on, and then you should be able to see that. And it's now highlighted that 400. And if I were to type in 300, you can see that line's now, and hit enter, that line's now changed to 300. But you'll see that, of course, now I've not got a rectangle anymore. I could go over here, click on this, and then you can see that it's highlighted the diagonal line at the moment. If I hit tab, and it's now highlighted the angle, but if I hit tab again, and one more time, until it highlights in blue the 400, the left-hand side line now, and again I can type in 300 and hit enter, and that now leads back there. The other way I could do it is I could click in the middle, and I can actually drag this around. It's just click and let go, and and I can drag it around, but you can see it's going to skew it. So another functionality you can use is to actually lock it, and this is basically what you were talking about earlier, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Author mode, which I do use author mode, but just not in the same funky way that you do. The shortcut is F8. So if you just hit the F8 button, and then you can see now that even though I'm moving left and right, it's locking it in a vertical position. So I can just drag it up and down. And you can see also, because the author mode, you can see how far I'm moving it. So you can see that I've moved it 70.65 up, and I can move it down as well. So if I wanted to shrink it down to 250, I can start moving it down that way, and then I can just type in 50 into the command bar, hit enter, and it's now reduced it by another 50. And so I just hover over there, you can see it's now 250. Always used to switch off author mode when you don't need it, because otherwise things get a bit confusing when you're moving things around. So we've got our festival perimeter, or the field perimeter now. I reckon we should probably draw a stage. So let's zoom in to this area here. We're gonna have the stage at the top here, I reckon. And we're gonna draw another rectangle. So REC, hit enter, and I'm gonna click at the top, and I'm gonna drag down, and then I'm gonna press the D button, and I'm gonna hit enter, and that goes into there. Now I'm gonna choose the length of my stage, which actually in this instance, because of the rotation of the festival site, it will be my width. So let's do a 20-meter wide stage. And then we're going to have to choose the depth. And let's go for a 15-meter deep stage. So this is called the width, but I know that that means that's the vertical line, the vertical distance. So then I'm going to type 15. You can see now I've got a rectangle. Now until I click my left button again, you can see that it's given me the option of where I want to place this rectangle. So if I hit my my left button now, it's going to place it there or there. I'm going to put it there. So hit my little button now, and now you can see that it's put it there. Now I want to. Sorry, Theo, were you going to say something?
No.
Oh, right. I heard a bit of feedback. That was random. Right. I'm gonna move my. I'll tell you what. Let's fill in our stage platform, shall we? And we can do that by using the hatch command. So to get into there, you can go up to the top left here and click on that button, the hatch button. Or what I tend to do more often than not is just type in H and then hit enter. And you can see that it's got a little pick box has come up. And that means that I can select something that I want to hatch. Now the other option, the other way to do it is you can actually choose an internal point, but we'll come on to that later. So I can actually just select an object, providing it's a closed object and there aren't any gaps. I can click on that and you can see it's already decided that it's going to fill it in, and it's filled it in a solid color. Now it might not have done that straight away for you, because if now we're in hatch mode, if you go up to your ribbon, you see it's changed. What you were seeing in a ribbon has now moved into what the hatch creation ribbon. And you can actually choose in this area here, the pattern, you can choose different patterns. So in fact, there's a little drop down, you click on this, you can choose lots of different patterns. All the different patterns. You make it look like a brick if you want. And if you did want to make it look like, have a slant, so I'm just choosing this one here, which has kind of got these lines going in a diagonal. If I click on that, you can see it's looking a little bit odd, looking like it's got like, if I zoom in, what you actually see is all the lines are there, but they're really close together. You can change that just on this little button here where it says 1. This is actually the pattern scale. If I click on that, you can change the scale. So if I type in 10 and hit enter, you can see now that it's changed scale. So if I come out there, you can see that it looks a little bit better. And if I hit enter, I now have a box with a hatch with a diagonal line on it. Now I can change the color of that if I wanted to. If I can click on that and I can go up here, you've got again, it just, when you click on a hatch, it automatically goes into the hatch editor mode. And I can choose in here the different colors. So if I wanted to maybe get red or something, I can just click on that. You can see if I just then go up to here, close hatch editor, you can see now it's red. Now I reckon I probably want a nice solid, I use a lot of solid colors when I'm doing it. I think it looks smarter. So I'm going to go into here, but I'm going to change it back to black, and I'm going to show you why in a minute. And I'm going to hit the close editor. If I'm going too quick or anyone's not following, just.
I think we're okay. I haven't had any comments. I have had one comment about layers though.
Good.
Whether or not we
getting ahead of me, Tom Ferris.
I know.
Yeah, absolutely. Hence why I've made my hatch in black, because I want to actually make sure I draw different elements on different layers. So then we've got a bit more control when we go later on. And as I was saying before, it means I can change the colors of it. So at the moment, you can see at the top here, it says 0 layer, which is just a standard layer. You don't edit it that. The AutoCAD always has 0 layer, and that's kind of your base layer. Is there anything else to that, Theo? The reason why, the sort of the background of that?
You have to, obviously, as starting a drawing, you have to have a layer on there to draw anything. So it just comes in as layer 0.
Yeah.
And there's another layer as well, but I don't suppose we need to go into it, to be honest.
No. The depth point, you mean? Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other way to look at it, if everyone could just type in layer into their command bar, just L-A-Y-E-R, type layer and hit enter. then it will bring up your layer sort of list, which is down here. And you can, at the moment, you can see we've only got one layer. So we want to create another layer. So if we just click on this little button here, it says new layer, click on that, and you can see that it's created a new layer. It's called it layer 1. It's highlighted at the moment, so I'm just going to rename that stage and hit enter. And you can see at the moment there's a little tick by the 0. That means that that layer is the one that's currently selected, which means anything I draw will be automatically put onto that layer. So if I want to draw something else, oh, I've got, you with me, Theo? I might have lost a bit of internet then.
Yeah, you just say that again.
So, well, which bit?
The bit about which layer is currently selected.
Yeah, so there's a little tick button there, a little tick by the layer, and that's where that means that that layer is selected. So if I double click on the stage layer, you can see that that now is ticked. And in fact, if I just click on again, I could just click on there, and you can see it just changes it to that selected layer. So I'm gonna choose the stage layer as my sort of current layer, is what they call it. Pardon me. So you can see at the moment you've got all these different functionalities you can choose with the layers. The first one is having the option to have the layer showing or not showing. So if I if I try and press this, I'll show you now, and I'll click on this, it tells me I can't do it. And the reason is because it's my current layer. Now, if I just select the 0 layer and now go to the stage layer and hit that little light bulb, you can you can't see anything because I haven't selected it. let me change the layer of this stage. So if I'm double clicked on there, I've chosen that. Now I'm going to come out of there a second. I'll tell you what, that's in auto hide mode, which you can have. You can click that little button there and you can have it showing all the time. So on this occasion, I'll just have it showing all the time. Now if I was to select my stage, and then from here at the top, you can see that that it's 0 at the moment. So if I click on that, and if I choose stage and just click on that, provide anything I've now selected has moved to the stage layer. If I hit escape to deselect, and if I now, you can see if I click on that on the perimeter, you can see it's gone to 0. Hit escape. So I now click on the line of the stage. Come up here, you can see it says stage because now it's on the stage layer. Same color at the moment, though. So I think we'll change the color of the stage, and that means I'm going to go over to my layer and just where it says color, click on where it says white, which I'll explain in a minute. And let's make our stage red. Now I'm going to go for kind of a pale red, I reckon, and hit enter. Now we've got it all red. Now, those that can't see that layer ribbon, is there another way to change? You can do it in properties, can't you, Theo? Change.
Yeah, you can, yeah.
So another way to change a layer, an object, what layer an object sits on is you can do it in properties, which we don't have up at the moment. We can show that really quickly. But first, let me create another layer. So I'm going to go up to here, and on that little button, I'm going to click on that. And I am going to call this field perimeter and hit enter. Now you notice that it's also made it the red, the same color as the stage. That's because when I created it, the layer I had selected was the stage layer. If I had the 0 layer selected, it would have made it white. So whatever layer you selected, it will copy all of the settings of that layer, which is quite useful when you're doing multiple different versions like Harris lines or crowd control barrier lines. It means you can sort of match the settings as a starting point when you create the new layer. So this field perimeter, let's just change the color of that to a green. And this little button comes up, and then you hit OK. And then now if I open up my properties, so we could do this 2 different ways. Let's do this. So if I select that, just click and let go, and you can see it's selected because it's got the little blue things on it. And if I right click, I can right click anywhere on the screen. And then you can see down the bottom, I've got a properties button. If I click on that, and then you can see down the right-hand side, it's given me all the properties. And then in here, you can see it's got the color, and it's also got the layer. And I just want to change the layer. So I click and hold on that. And I can go to field perimeter, and you can see it's already changed green. Click on that. And if I hit escape, there we go, we've got one green surround. Now I've just realized it's already 1 o'clock and we've achieved barely anything. So we're going to move fast because this is going to record and you can always look back at it. So the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the outline of my stage because I want to make it a little bit more prominent. That's just something, it's just a thing. I can't actually get to it because I'm going to do it up here. I can just change the color here. I click on this and change the color to white and escape. You can see it's white. So even though it's on the stage color still, I can actually individually pick different objects and their colors. So you can, if I click on that again, and you can see color is now white, or click on that in the properties and you can say by layer. You say by layer, or you can choose whatever color you want. So it really depends how you want it to operate. I quite like having the outline of a feature to be in a different color to the actual inner part. So I make it black. So there we go, we've got our stage. So I'm gonna click there, I'm gonna draw over here and let go to select. And then what I'm gonna do here is use the group function. So by doing that, I just type in group and hit enter. And that means that those two things are now, the two objects are now grouped together. You see there, I've just got, it's sort of changed now. I've just got one single gripper here. And if I click and let go, I can actually move that around now and I don't have to select both those. Because if I just go back a minute, if I want to undo, by the way, you just type in U and hit enter for undo. And then U, hit enter for undo. And now you can see I've oh no, one more. Okay, so you can see now it's separate. So if I just press this, and if I move it, to move it, I can type in M and hit enter, or I can right click and go move. And then if I press, I can just select anywhere, just click anywhere and move it around, or I can select a certain bit. I'll show you that in a minute. If I do that, it's moved it. Why has it moved it? Oh. I know why it's moved it off here. It's because that hatch is associated with the line, hasn't it? Mm-hmm. Fine. Okay. Well, maybe we'll show them that a little in a minute. But you can see that I select that, and we can move that. But if I wanted to group all of these things together there and just type in group, then it means I can just move the whole lot around. Comme ça. But let's not do that for now. All right, next thing I'm going to do, so I'm going to select that. I'm going to type in group, so it's now all grouped. Now I am wanting to move it so I can centralize it to the middle of this field. And by doing that, I want to use the move function. So I'm going to type in M and hit enter. That goes into the move function. And I'm going to use the snap option. And the shortcut for the snap option is F3. I'm going to hit F3. And now you'll see whenever I get near a corner or a middle, a little box comes up. You can see that? And that is that's a way that it means it's going to automatically snap when I press on it. It's going to automatically snap the move point to there. Now the triangle means that it's a midpoint, and the box means it's an end point of a line. So I'm going to go for the midpoint. And that means now just click once and let go, and you can move it around. And then I am finding the midpoint of that. I'm going to press there and let go.
Rupert, do you want, just very, very briefly, do you want to just make sure that, because it might not be that everyone's snap settings will allow them to snap to the middles, just show them where they can change that in the drop down.
Good point, mate. Good point. Yeah. So you can
to the
down
right on the box.
where are we? There you are. Thank you, mate.
Yeah.
So here you've got another way of accessing the snap function is you can press this box here and that turns it off. And if it's highlighted, it means it turned on. And the little drop down off to the right, if you click on that, it gives you a list of what it will snap to. So it'll snap to endpoint, midpoint, center, geometry center, all the different quadrants, a circle, intersections. You can have a play around and see what that does. And you can see what I've got selected at the moment. So you can turn them on and off. If it's not behaving like it should, then you can change one of these options. I'm just going to click away from there to get rid of that. Cool, right, so I've got my stage there, but it's a little bit too close to the back of the field. So again, I'm just going to select it now, and I want to move it away so I can have a back of house area. Again, I'm going to use the move function and hit enter. Now I want to make sure I keep it central, so I'm going to use that author option. So I'm going to hit F8. You can see down the bottom it's author on now, and I'm just going to click on the bottom corner here and let go. And then you can see here it's saying endpoint, and this is the tracking mode, isn't it, that I'm about to use, Theo? Is he gone? He's gone. Well, anyway.
Hey, sorry.
Sorry, Theo. This, I think, is the tracking mode. So I'm gonna drag down here, and what you can see, it says author, and it's giving me a value. So if I want to move it forward a certain amount, so I probably want to give myself about 20 meters of back of house space. So I just type in 20 and hit enter, and that's moved the stage 20 meters from that point, from the point that I selected. There we go, I've got ourselves one stage. And we can do some wings of this stage. So if we, again, use the rectangle option, REC, hit enter, and then what we can do is actually, we can create a rectangle from this corner here. So if I just press once and drag out, and then, in fact, let me turn author off. And then again, you can see here, I can create a rectangle. I could just wing it because it's a wing, stage wing. Haha, not funny. Cheers, dear. Cheers. Or I can make it a proper size. So let's, for now, I'm just going to wing it, and let's just put some wings here like that. And then I want to change that color because I want to keep it in keeping with the rest of the stage. So I'm going to change that to white. The reason it says white and not black is because AutoCAD is still used to using black as its main background. So even though it says white, it is black. I want to copy this now because I want exactly the same size wing over on the other side. So I use the copy function. Again, there's lots of different ways to do that. I can come up to the ribbon here and use the copy. I believe I can right click and use the copy selection here. Or again, I can just type in copy or just CO for copy and hit enter. And there we go. So that says it's ready to copy, and I want to now choose where I want to copy it from, or what grip point I want to copy it from. Now, because I want to attach it to this corner here, I'm going to grab this corner here. And so I just hover over there, click left button, and then I can move it over. And I've got author on now, which means it's going to stick to that line. But if I didn't, I can move it wherever I want. But if I come over here, because I've got the snap options still on, it's going to automatically snap to that corner. And I can just hit enter. And there's my wing. But it's also, you can see that it's saying that I can just keep on copying. So if I wanted lots of wings, I can just keep copying as many times as I like. And to get out of this, you can just hit enter. And I'm going to get rid of these by clicking here, dragging over, clicking again, and then I can right click and hit erase. So there are my wings. Maybe we should make our wings a slightly different color. So I'm going to use my hatch command again. So I can come up here, top left to where the drawing area is. Click on hatch, and you can see now it's turned to hatch creation. And I am now going to use the pick point, in fact, to be a bit different. So I'm going to click on pick point. I'm going to come over here. If I hover over here, you can see I haven't even clicked, and it's already said, giving me a preview of what this might look like. Now, occasionally AutoCAD messes with your brain and says that, and does this preview. And if you haven't got a closed line, even though it's showing a preview, when it actually tries to do it, there's a gap. It says it can't cope with it and it can't create the hatch. On this occasion, we know it's a rectangle, so it's closed. But if I just click on that, you can see it selected it. And now also what I can do is I can keep on doing it. So I can click on that as well. And I've selected 2 bits. I haven't hit enter yet. I'm still in hatch creation. If you come up here, you can see associative. And that means that when I hit enter, those 2 hatches will be associated with each other. So if I just try that now, hit enter, and then you can see that the hatch ribbon's gone. We've gone back to normal. Now if I just click on one of these hatches, hasn't done it. It's the wrong one, isn't it? I've used the wrong function, Theo. Why didn't you stop me, Theo? I'm going to do that again, just really quickly. Right, I'm going to go into hatch function, and I'm going to come up to, before I click on that, I'm going to go to options up here. And you can see here that at the moment I've got create separate hatches. So if I untick that, and then I click that, hit enter, and now if I press one of them, you can see that it's selected both of them. And that means that if I wanted that all associated and I wanted to change the color of both of them at the same time, so I can go up to my properties, or in fact, you can come up here to where it says color here of the hatch, and you can change the color of the wings, whatever you want, and hit enter. Ta-da! Right, what have we got? 20 minutes left. What we better skip on. Let's do some Harris lines really quick. So we're going to go into our layers and going to select the new layer. Again, you can see because I had stage selected that it's just matched the color of that. I'm going to call this Harris. I can't spell Harris fence line. And I'm going to change the color of this to blue and hit OK. And then I'm going to double click on that Harris line layer. So that's now my selected layer. But what I'm also going to do is I'm going to change the line type, which is this next bit here. You can see it says continuous. I'm going to click on that. And you can see at the moment, the only option I've got is continuous. If I go to load, it should bring you up a list that looks a bit like this. And these are all the different line types you can have. So in there, you should have one called, let's go for hidden 5x. Actually, no, let's go for fence line square, because it's a fence line. So I'm going to click, which is actually, the line type name is fence line 2. The description is fence line square. So I've just selected that, and I'm going to hit OK. At the moment, it's now loaded a new line on here, but it hasn't selected it. To select it, you just select it like that, click on it once and hit OK. And you can see now here it says fence line. If I just hover over there, it will say fence line 2. So that means that if I'm to draw myself a Harris line, and I want to use the polyline, we haven't used that yet. I always draw my polyline, my Harris lines in polylines, because it gives me more options to change the thickness of the lines. I'll show you that in a moment. So to draw a polyline, you can come up here and press on polyline. You can right click, can you? No, but you can type in P line, which is what I tend to do. So P line into command bar, hit enter, and again you can see it's gone into its tool function. Now I want a Harris line from the edge of my wing here. But I also, because I'm going to put a mojo barrier in front of my stage, I want it to actually sit. I'm going to have my mojo barrier 6 meters in front of my stage, downstage. So I'm going to hover over here, and this is author mode I'm using, isn't it, Theo? To get a line, a distant line, doing this.
That's tracking. That's
tracking, right? Okay. So you need tracking mode on, which to do that, Theo, is down the bottom.
Yeah. So there's like, I guess the snapping has a certain element of tracking in it, depending on what snap settings
it should do that automatically, shouldn't it?
Yeah, but then if you're just drawing a line from a single point with nothing else to snap to, that's when polar tracking comes in.
Yeah, okay. So look, I'm just going to go again. P line, hit enter. I'm going to hover over here, but not click. And I'm going to drag down. You can see there's a number that coming up on the side next to extension. If I type in 6, it means it's going to extend it 6 meters. So you see that my first point is now 6 meters from the edge of the wing. And that means now you can see also, if I just scroll, you can see how that line looks different.
Just lost you a little bit there, Rupert, so it might be worth saying that again.
Which bit?
After you started drawing the line.
Okay, so yeah, you can see that the line now, the first point of that line is 6 meters from the edge of that PA wing. And now you can see that the line looks different. It's got these squares in it because that's the line type I've chosen. So now I can just drag over here and I can have my line, maybe say go there. And if I just press enter, and you can see also that it's going to create another line again. And we won't go into that yet, but if I just hit enter, now we've got our first line. I want to match that on the other side. So I'm going to use I'm just going to go into this a little bit because I know we're running out of time. Can't believe we've jabbered on so much and all we've got done is this in an hour and a quarter. That's rubbish there.
going from point 0, it takes quite a bit of time.
It is, isn't it? And you know what? I'm more than happy to do another session on this, guys, because I realise it's a lot to take in. But maybe go on, Theo. What you say?
Are we going to have time to just perhaps give people a little insight into what's actually possible and the potential for Autocad for?
Yeah, we could do that, couldn't we? Have you got anything set up with like the blocks? Blocks in it. I
don't.
Do you want to set something up real quick, and then we'll just who's coming on after us? Have we got a break? We've got a half an hour. No, we haven't. We're straight into SAG time, the SAG one. So we are going to have to crack. Well, I tell you, we probably won't have time for that.
Okay. Maybe if there's interest for a second session, then we can do some of that then.
Let's do that. And once we've posted the video, the recording of this, I think it's worth everyone watching that, getting to grips with the minimal amount that we've shared with you so far. And then we'll do another session maybe next week or the end of this week. We'll see how it goes. But if there's enough interest, we'll probably post out to people and we'll somehow work out if there's an interest via anyone that's registered. I think we can send emails out.
Yeah, I'm getting a few people interested on the chat, and also it might be worth showing people how to do dimensions or measuring different elements.
There's so much, isn't there? And we haven't even approached circle or anything. And I was going to draw. So what we got 15 minutes left. Let's draw. So really quickly, I'll show you the mirror function to get the other Harris line on the other side. And then I'm going to show you how to draw a marquee, a traditional marquee so we're going to have some guy lines around the edge, a couple of ways to do that. So we do this really quickly. This is going to be better off for watching back, I suspect. But I'll try and talk as I go. So to do the mirror function, you can go up here, hit on the mirror. So press, click on that, and then choose the object you want to mirror, which is my Harris line. Click that once, hit enter, and then I'm going to choose the point in which I want to mirror, which is the midpoint of my stage. You could also do it at the midpoint of the Harris panel, the perimeter line, because it's the same midpoint. But I'm going to choose here, and you can see now if I drag around here, you can see how it's creating a line. If I put on my author mode, F8, it's now going to snap, and if I snap straight down the middle and click, and then you can see it's created this line, but it hasn't come out of the mirror function yet. You need to go down to the command. It gives you the option. Do you want to erase the original object or not? And I don't. So I just type in N and hit enter, and now I've got 2 Harris lines. But you can see my Harris lines are actually outside of the perimeter. So I use a trim function. I type in trim, hit enter, and if I now select the trim line I want to cut anything on, which is the perimeter, and then hit enter, and then all I need to do is click on anything I want to trim, like that. I'm going to click on that, and I click on the other Harris line, and then hit enter, and I've trimmed it down. Neat. Right, let's do a marquee. So I'm going to go up to here and create a new marquee layer. And I'm going to change the color to green for now. And go and double click on the marquee layer. And then I'm going to do a rectangle. So REC, click once, drag down, hit dimension. It's got the wrong thing on it, isn't it? Hang on a minute. It's because I stupidly had the Harris line selected. It's got the wrong line type. I just want a solid line on this one for now. So I'm going to change the line type, and then I'm going to hit REC again, click, drag down, dimensions for D, and I want the top end to be, let's go 15 meters by, let's say 30 meters, nice big marquee, and click, and now I've got my marquee here. If I select that now, because it's the wrong color for now, I just want to make the outside black, and I'm going to use the hatch function, just type H, and you can see it's already selected it. Because I've got it within there, I can choose to select at the top left to just select a rectangle and hit enter. And I've got my marquee, which is now a 15 by 30, but it's a traditional marquee, so which means it isn't completely square, which means it's got the corners are round. So we want to add some chamfer. Is that the right word?
A chamfer or fillet or fillet.
Or fillet. Oh, it's fillet, isn't it? Because chamfer is the boxing, isn't it? I don't know. Anyway, up the top here, choose the fillet option, and is it a fillet? Is it a fillet?
It's a fillet, obviously.
It's a fillet option. You can type in fillet as well, and then we need to choose how the radius in which we want. So how big we want this this curve of this corner to be. So type in R, hit enter. At the moment it says 0. So anything I type in, it means it's going to do a point down and a point across of curve. So let's go for 3 and hit enter. And then if I now select one side of this box, this rectangle, you can see it selected it. And now if I just hover over the other side, you can see that it's going to put a curve on it. I don't have to do it that way. I could, if I had multiple options, I could go a different way. But at the moment I can go over here and hit enter. And now you can see it's created a lovely curve. I want to repeat that function. And a great thing that Autocad has is the option of a shortcut. So the last thing you do, you can access by just using the enter key. So hit enter, and it comes up with that box again. And I click 1, and I click again, and you can see it's created exactly the same functionality. Hit enter again, click, click, enter again, click, click. There we go. Got a little marquee.
Gorgeous.
Gorgeous. Right, now I want to have a guy line. Now the guy lines, there's a couple of ways to do this. You can sort of show the guy line. We use the offset command on both of them, which is up here, just this little offset, or you can type in offset, but I'll just choose it from here. And then you can see that the little box has gone, so that means I'm in a little tool. And down the bottom in the command function, it's just at the moment it says offset, specify offset distance. So I can choose how far it's going to offset from the object that I'm going to choose. Now, Guy wrote, let's go for 1.5 meters. So 1.5, type enter, hit enter. Now it's come up with the box for me to choose the object I want to offset. So I'm going to select this one. You can see I can go inside. If I bring up on the outside, you can see that it's going to, if I hit my little button, it's now created another line which is offset 1.5 meters. I can do it again because it's still in the same function. I could click it again and do another one if I wanted to, but I'm just going to hit escape to come out of there. Now, usually I show guy lines in 2 different ways. Either I can click on this and I can change the layer type, the line type. So I don't think we've got any other lines set up at the moment. But if I just go to line type here and go load, and then if we choose hidden times 5, so hidden 2, hit OK. I'm not going to select that for the whole layer. I'm still going to stick with continuous, hit OK. But what that allows me to do now, I'm going to click on this layer, go over to my properties, and the line type, I'm going to click on that, and it gives me a little drop-down option. I can now choose hidden. Now you can see at the moment, I have to really zoom in. If I just hit escape, you can see it's hidden. But if I zoom out, you can't really see it very well. And that's because the two things, you've got two different ways of scaling how you view things. So you've got either line type scale, or you've got, what's the other one called? What's LT scale?
There's
so many, isn't there?
Yeah, there's PTS,
oh God, let's not,
PSLT. Yeah.
We won't get into that.
Yeah, they attribute to different things, but yeah.
If we just type in LT scale at the moment, and notice when I'm not clicking into the command bar whenever I type in something, it automatically just does it, and I hit enter, and it automatically comes up with LT scale. And at the moment it's on 1. I won't go into this now on why choose different ones. It really depends on the drawing you're working on. We haven't even gone for move, rotate or anything yet, have we? Here, good God. No. But it's on 1 at the moment. If I just type in 5, hit enter, and you can see that the line type has changed a little bit. So now I've got my guy line. I'm not going to go into the next function. Just quickly, I might want to rotate my marquee. So to do that, first I'm going to select the whole marquee. Now I've selected it. I could group it if I wanted to, but I'm just going to, for now, I'm just going to use the rotate function. Again, always a few different ways to do that. I can go up to the left, type rotate, click on rotate from the ribbon. I can right click and choose rotate from the quick menu, or I can type in ROT as rotate and hit enter. Now we're going in rotate mode. And then I can choose a point to rotate from. So maybe I want to rotate from this point here. Click once, and then I've still got author mode on, so press F8 to turn it off. And then you can move around, and you can rotate it however you like. And you see it keeps snapping onto points because it's snapping onto a reference of the original object. But otherwise, I can just have it wherever I want and just click once, and then it's rotated it. And if I want to move it, I can click, drag over, because this is the option that only, it will select anything within its box or touch in the box. Type M for move, hit enter. And then if I just take off my snap mode by pressing F3, and then I can just click anywhere, and it means I can move it around. So maybe this is one of my dressing rooms. I'm going to put it over here.
Palatial dressing room.
Yeah, might be split into different divides later on. Right, we've got 4 minutes left here. What do you reckon? We haven't done text or anything.
There's a whole plethora of other tools that you can use on this, which are all useful for their own individual things. But I mean, we haven't covered like trims and extends for lines. We haven't covered arrays.
So much.
Yeah, I mean, Rupert, you've been using CAD for 12 years.
Yeah,
I've been using CAD for 10 years as well. So these are not things that we've picked up in 1.5 hour session, you know. So it's yeah. And then obviously there's once you've got a drawing, there's then sheeting it up using things called viewports, which allow you to take snapshots at different sections of your drawing and have those at different scales and arranging them on one sheet to then print out to present to clients or whatever you want. There's XREFs, which is bringing in other drawings into the drawing that you've got at the moment as a point of reference. I know someone mentioned in the comments that they'd like to see how you would bring in either another drawing or a map as like a base plan. There are a multitude of ways of doing that. Whether you want to use, if you've got the full AutoCAD, you can geo-reference Bing Maps or Google Maps possibly to get a sort of live map in your drawing with the correct coordinates. Or you can bring in an image of a map that you've got with perhaps a sketch of a design on there already. And you can scale that in the drawing. So there's so much more to cover.
The other thing that we didn't touch on was blocks, which is a really useful function. And I promise we'll do some more, because obviously there's a lot more to share. But you can create blocks from all of these different objects. You can select these objects and you can actually create a block, which what that means is it gives you the option to easily duplicate that. So whereas you saw I did a copy mode of the wings, you can actually create a block, which means every time you insert that block, it's always going to look the same. It also allows you, if you were to change that block, it would change all of the blocks within that drawing. So again, yeah, super useful functionality, especially with marquees and cabins and things like that. And as Theo alluded to, we use some advanced functionality on AutoCAD for our site plans, where we have visibility states of like cabin blocks, where we can have different sizes of cabins in one single block. So you can have a 32 foot, 12 foot, 20 foot. You can have the doors in different places. There's so much you can do. It's phenomenal. But I hope that was of some use. I don't want to go over, because we've got a Q&A on SAG now, which is about to start. So I want to bring Eric in now so we can run on that. But I promise we'll do some more. If anyone's interested, we'll just put a post out and maybe we'll do a Q&A on what you were most interested, a survey on what you're most interested in. And if enough people are interested in seeing some more of this, then me and Theo will do some more. I hope that was of some help. And yeah, sorry we didn't get through more, but there we go. It's a good start, eh? Theo, thanks, mate. Appreciate you joining me.
No worries.
Stop messing around.